Welcome back to the TCI studio. We're joined today by Don Munson as part of our Clemson's Finest series. Don, in this segment, we're going to focus a little more on football. Obviously, that's the big sport around Clemson, and obviously the big success they've had the last few years. You've played different roles. Obviously, you've been the voice of the Tigers, but you've also played some different roles in the football program. Just talk about the different roles you've been able to play.
Just on the network-wise, obviously I've been host of the Tailgate Show. I've been host of the Fifth Quarter Show. When Jim Phillips was still alive, I actually subbed for him on a couple of games in '96 when he was having horrific back issues. Traveled to Florida State, did a game at Duke, did some basketball stuff that period of time. But really, what I think what changed me and made me a better broadcaster, and certainly getting to know Clemson was, the way that I know it as well as I do now, was in 2010 when Coach Sweeney offered me the job to come on and be part of his support staff. That happened. That happened in June of 2010. Actually, I was walking. That was the same year we go to Omaha with baseball, and Jack took the last time we were in Omaha, and so I was actually walking on the practice field. And never will forget that. My phone rings, it's 12:03 in the afternoon in Omaha, and I'm no more than 6 feet away from Jack Leggett, about to shake his hand, and I look at my phone and Dabo Sweeney asks, what the heck is Coach Sweeney calling me about? And that ended up being hey, I want to bring you on as doing, and so went to work for Coach Sweeney in 2010, and then in 2014 moved over into the play-by-play job at Clemson. But those 4 years, being on staff and being that entrenched into it, and it was about a month into it, I came home and I told Elizabeth, I said, I had been close because I'd been part of the network and I thought that I knew. I didn't, and I quickly found out that I didn't know squat. I mean, just what goes into running a program like that. And of course, he's in the very beginning of the run that we're going on, and there were still people that were very skeptical of William Christopher Sweeney in 2010, believe me. And, we go to the Meineke Car Care Bowl that year. We're 6-6. We go and play South Florida.
Press conference in a pizza joint?
Yeah. So we lose to South Florida. And I have a tumbler from the Meineke Car Care Bowl that I purposely keep in my office so that I make sure that I have to look at that every day. And I use it in
appreciate things.
Yeah, absolutely. It does teach you. But the most vivid thing that I remember is Tim Beret had to do stuff with players, and so he looked at me and he said, "Hey, can you go to Coach's press conference, and then we need to get him back to the team hotel. Here are the keys to my car. You can just drive Coach back to the hotel. No problem. Glad to do that." So, but what I remember in that press conference is Coach Sweeney looking at everybody and saying, "We are about to go on the greatest decade and run in Clemson football history." And I tell people this: raise your hand if you believed him at that time. I don't think anybody would, but that was the vision. That he knew what he wanted to do. He knew that he was going to have to make some staff changes. In doing that for 11, Chad Morris is hired, and what happens? We go back to Charlotte. And we win an ACC championship. Now, we also went to Miami. And we got slaughtered by West Virginia, but that was the beginning. We made another staff change, and here comes Brent Venables into the program. So but that was Coach knew. Even when he was hired as an interim coach in 2008, he was not afraid to make staff changes. He made one 10 to 15 minutes within hiring period. Where he did it, which turned out to be beneficial to him because he finished 4-2 in the regular season. Obviously, got the head job, lost to Nebraska in the Gator Bowl. But it all was started, and then, you win an ACC championship in 11, you beat LSU in 12, you beat Ohio State in 13, and then you beat Oklahoma, and the build has started. You play for a national championship in 15, you win a national championship in 16. Unfortunately, you lose to Alabama in a Sugar Bowl, but you come back and you beat Alabama again for your second national championship in 3 years. So it all stacks upon itself. And now you look at what's going on, and I truly believe this, what I'm about to say. We're going to be a threat to win it all again this year, to be back in New Orleans and and win a national championship, barring catastrophic injury. I truly believe that. But next year and the following year, we're going to be a threat here for a long, long period of time. And this decade, as we cap it off here in 19, has a chance to step out. There's going to be an opportunity for winning 3 national championships in 4 years. And I think we're going to do it. I really do. I really think that we're going to do it. Yeah, I really think that we're going to do it. I've told Coach that, and he kind of looks at me and smiles, and he just tells me, "I like the way you're thinking." No, he just, "I like the way you're thinking." But that's who he is. He uses a quote from the Bible all the time: "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he," and that is so very true. So very true.
When you took that job in 2010, those first couple of years, and Dad was talking about all these grand things, did you believe then? Or has what's happened since then even surprised you?
Well, I guess maybe I look at it differently than most people do because I was so entrenched into it. He affectionately called me his handler. I was brought on to do the marketing and messaging of Clemson football, then help him with some other aspects of his counter speaking engagements, that kind of stuff. So, I was on his hip quite a bit. And so for me, it was different because it was infectious and I could see it daily. Being in every staff meeting, being in the recruiting meetings, being in other things that just people didn't get to look at, being behind the scenes and seeing it all. That I believed it. I absolutely believe it, and I believe it even more to this day. So that's why I can sit here and think that we're going to win 3 out of 4. I'm not so sure that we're not going to win 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 6. To be perfectly honest with you, wow. I mean, I really think that's now we got to go out and earn it.
Right.
No one's going to give you anything. That's the other thing. I will tell you that those 4 years and that he drove home is that no one gives you anything. You absolutely have to go out and earn everything you get. I believe that in my own life, believe that in what I'm seeing in my professional life as well.
All right, let's go to that first national championship under Dabo.
Mm-hmm.
The game is back and forth, and Clemson makes the run, takes the lead. You're getting ready to make that great call on that Hunter Renfrow touchdown. Do you think about those things ahead of time, or I'm gonna say this or that, or is it just all spontaneous?
No, I don't think about it, to be perfectly honest with you. That drive, people have asked me, what are you maybe most proud of in your broadcast career? And I say it as that drive. Alabama scores with 2:07 left on the clock. We don't take a break. We've used all of our breaks. Okay, so we don't go to commercial break. We come back. We're after the extra point is kicked, and then I make the comment that, all right, if you had to go ask any Clemson fan, no matter how far you had to go, how wide you have to go, we're all going to say that the guy that's about to step out on the field as quarterback is the guy that we want leading this drive. We're about to find out if he can live up to this. Mm-hmm. And, it ended up that the late C.J. Fuller almost broke the kickoff and took it the distance. Yep. So that almost happened. But we set up, and then there's a 5-yard pass completion on the sideline, and then the long throw to Mike Williams, and now all of a sudden you're inside Alabama's 40 with a minute 50 left, and the clock's running. And then there's a couple other plays, but all of a sudden it goes from a minute 50 to under 40 seconds, and the clock's running. Mm-hmm. And one of the most amazing things, obviously because of all this going on between Clemson and Alabama, Eli Gold, the voice of Alabama, and I have gotten fairly close. And almost at the exact same point in the broadcast, in his broadcast and in my broadcast, we're counting down the clock together. It's at 38, it's at 37. And that was the third down play to Hunter Renfrow that they throw to get a first down. And then obviously, it evolves. You have the catch by Jordan Leggett, the missed throw to Mike Williams in the end zone, and then the play with 6 seconds left, and obviously Hunter catching it with a second left. But it's still not over. Mm-hmm. It's still not over because there's a second left, and we were talking about it before we started shooting. The chaos that ensued in that final second, even after the onside kick was recovered, it still wasn't over.
Yeah, run out and celebrate.
But even that goes to show you, Coach Sweeney talked about a dream that he had to Deshaun, and that was the dream. Mm-hmm. Deshaun, I have had this dream that you're going to go out, take a knee on the field, and we're going to win the national championship with you. And that's what happened. Those are the memories that you carry. And then obviously from the last national championship, the memory is just the way that it happened and the utter destruction that
That one
Clemson
easier
did.
to call? Or
That one
harder
was
to call?
easier to call because, the game had already kind of been decided. Whereas, going in that final drive, and particularly as it got closer, is that I was talking to myself in my mind, don't get carried away, don't get carried away. And so that one was a little bit easier probably than the 16-1 was.
When that one ends, you have some great lines.
and
again, that just came natural, right?
Well, the line that obviously that a lot of people have taught to me is Clemson comes to California and strikes gold. I didn't even know that I had said that until about 3 or 4 hours later. A producer from ESPN had texted me, "Hey, would you come on and do a segment on radio with us on our?" Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm on hold. We're all driving in a car, and I'm on hold, and they're playing the final call, and I hear that, and I just went, "Wow."
Well, and then you talk about the golden scepter, right?
Yeah, well, I have my personal goal is I've nicknamed that thing the golden scepter. I want to see the national media pick up, and there are now some national media folks that are picking up on the golden scepter. So I hope that nicknames. I called it the golden scepter in 16. I've been calling it the golden scepter ever since I saw it, and so that's my goal, is to see if I can get that nickname to stick.
All right, last question for you. What's it like, your voice and those phrases we're talking about are going to live in Clemson history? What's it like to hear those things on ESPN over and over, on the radio over and over, and just, that's got to be pretty cool.
It is surreal. In 16, my wife and I obviously had been over we did not stay at the team hotel. We stayed at another athletic department hotel, but was not with the team because of the overflow. So we were at the overflow hotel. So we partied with the team till about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, knowing that we had to be back at the team hotel at 10 o'clock in the morning to go through the scan to get on the charter flight home. So we called it a day at 4:45. So I set the television on ESPN to go off at 7 o'clock in the morning to wake us up. Figured I guess it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I gave us 2 hours to get over there. 8 o'clock in the morning to go off. So we're dead asleep. The television goes off, and the very first thing that I hear is my voice calling the end of after the kneel down by. I kind of woke. I shook Elizabeth. I said, "Hey, listen." So it was a little surreal from that point. It's surreal when I'm at, like this year at the ACC kickoff, to hear as they're announcing the new ACC network that some of my calls are involved in it. Jim Phillips was great to me, and Jim will always be the voice of the Tigers. Always be the voice of the Tigers, and he will tell you the one disappointment that he had in his life was not being able to call the 1981 national championship game. So I know just how blessed I am to be able to do this, and hopefully, hopefully I'm doing it okay, and those calls will live for a while.
All right, great segment there with the voice of the Tigers. Don, thanks so much for joining us in
Appreciate
the
you
studio for the Clemson's Finest series, and stay tuned to the Clemson Insider. We'll bring you a lot more.